Welcome to another exciting video on our channel, Thoser 666. Today, we're diving into the world of Baldur's Gate 3 and exploring the importance of mastering combat in this epic RPG. With its deep and intricate combat system, it's crucial for players to understand the mechanics and strategies to dominate in battle. In this ultimate guide, we'll be covering essential tips and tactics that will help you conquer your foes and become a true master of combat in Baldur's Gate 3. So, buckle up and get ready to level up your gameplay. In Baldur's Gate 3, character creation and party composition play a crucial role in determining your success in combat. A well-balanced party with complementary skills and abilities ensures that you can tackle various challenges and adapt to different combat scenarios. By carefully selecting your characters and their builds, you can create a formidable team that excels in both offense and defense. When creating your characters, consider their roles in the party. For example, a tanky frontliner like a fighter or barbarian can absorb damage and protect the more vulnerable members of the group. A spellcaster like a wizard or sorcerer can provide powerful ranged attacks and crowd control, while a rogue or ranger can deal significant damage from a distance or up close. A support character like a cleric or bard can heal and buff the party, ensuring everyone stays in fighting shape. For an optimal party composition, aim for a mix of melee, ranged, and spellcasting characters. A balanced party might include a fighter, a rogue, a wizard, and a cleric. This setup provides a good mix of damage, control, and support abilities. However, feel free to experiment with different character builds and party compositions to suit your preferred playstyle. For example, if you enjoy a more aggressive approach, you might opt for a party with a barbarian, a paladin, a sorcerer, and a warlock. This composition focuses on dealing high damage and using powerful spells to overwhelm enemies. Alternatively, if you prefer a more tactical and defensive playstyle, you could choose a party with a fighter, a ranger, a wizard, and a druid. This setup offers a mix of ranged attacks, crowd control, and healing abilities, allowing you to control the battlefield and outlast your opponents. Remember, the key to success in Baldur's Gate 3 is to experiment with different character builds and party compositions to find the perfect balance for your playstyle. Don't be afraid to try new combinations and adapt your strategy as you progress through the game. The combat mechanics are designed to provide a strategic and immersive experience. The game utilizes a turn-based combat system, which means that each character, both player-controlled and enemy, takes turns performing actions in a predetermined order. This order is determined by each character's initiative, which is influenced by their dexterity attribute and other factors. Each character has a limited number of action points, AP, per turn, which they can use to perform various actions such as attacking, casting spells, or using abilities. Typically, a character has one main action, one bonus action, and movement points. It's essential to manage these action points wisely to maximize your effectiveness in combat. Attacks can be made using melee or ranged weapons, and their success depends on factors such as the attacker's accuracy, the target's armor class, and any situational modifiers. Spells, on the other hand, can be offensive or defensive and often require the caster to expend spell slots, which are limited resources that replenish after a long rest. Abilities are unique to each character class and can provide various benefits, such as increased damage, healing, or crowd control effects. To use these actions effectively in combat, it's crucial to understand each character's strengths and weaknesses and how they can complement each other. For example, a melee-focused fighter can engage enemies up close, while a spellcasting wizard can provide support from a distance with powerful spells. A rogue can use their bonus action to disengage from combat and reposition themselves for a sneak attack, dealing extra damage. By understanding the combat mechanics and how different actions can be used effectively, you'll be better equipped to make strategic decisions in battle and overcome the challenges that Baldur's Gate 3 presents. Positioning and terrain play a significant role in determining the outcome of battles. By taking advantage of the environment and strategically positioning your characters, you can gain an edge over your enemies and turn the tide of combat in your favor. High ground is a crucial element to consider when positioning your characters. Ranged attackers, such as archers and spellcasters, benefit greatly from being on higher ground, as it provides them with an increased chance to hit their targets and a damage bonus. Additionally, being on high ground makes it more difficult for enemies to reach and engage your ranged characters in melee combat. Cover is another essential aspect of positioning. Placing your characters behind cover, such as walls or large objects, can provide them with partial or full protection from ranged attacks. This can be particularly useful for squishier characters who may not be able to withstand a barrage of enemy projectiles. Be mindful of destructible cover, as it can be destroyed by powerful attacks, leaving your characters exposed. Environmental hazards can also be used to your advantage in combat. For example, you can push or pull enemies into hazards such as pits, spikes, or pools of acid, dealing additional damage and potentially incapacitating them. Similarly, you can use spells or abilities to create hazardous terrain, such as a wall of fire or a patch of slippery ice, to control enemy movement and force them to take damage or suffer other negative effects. In conclusion, mastering the art of positioning and utilizing terrain effectively is crucial for success in Baldur's Gate 3. By taking advantage of high ground, cover, and environmental hazards, you can gain a strategic edge in combat and increase your chances of emerging victorious. In Baldur's Gate 3, status effects and crowd control abilities play a vital role in controlling the battlefield and gaining an advantage over your enemies. These effects can hinder enemy actions, deal damage over time, or even incapacitate foes, allowing your party to focus on other threats or deal with enemies more efficiently. There are various status effects and crowd control abilities in the game, each with its unique impact on the battlefield. For example, the stunned status effect prevents a character from taking any actions, while the poisoned effect deals damage over time and reduces the affected character's ability to hit their targets. Crowd control abilities, such as the sleep spell or the entangle spell, can incapacitate multiple enemies at once, giving your party the opportunity to reposition or focus on high-priority targets. To effectively apply these effects, it's essential to understand the strengths and weaknesses of your characters and their abilities. For instance, a spellcaster with a high intelligence score is more likely to successfully apply crowd control spells like Hold Person or Web. On the other hand, a melee-focused character like a fighter or barbarian can use their physical attacks to apply status effects like Prone or Grappled. When facing enemies that utilize status effects and crowd control abilities, it's crucial to have countermeasures in place. For example, a cleric can use spells like Lesser Restoration to remove negative status effects from party members, while a wizard can cast Dispel Magic to counter enemy crowd control spells. Additionally, items like potions or scrolls can provide temporary immunity or resistance to specific effects, giving your party an edge in combat. In conclusion, mastering the use of status effects and crowd control abilities is crucial for controlling the battlefield in Baldur's Gate 3. By understanding how to effectively apply and counter these effects, you can increase your chances of success in combat and overcome the challenges that the game presents. Synergy and combos between different abilities and spells can significantly enhance your party's effectiveness in combat. By understanding how to combine these abilities and spells, you can create powerful combinations that can turn the tide of battle in your favor. One example of a potent ability-spell combination is the Sneak Attack ability of the Rogue class combined with the Invisibility spell. A rogue can use their sneak attack to deal additional damage when they have advantage on their attack roll or when an enemy is within 5 feet of an ally. By casting invisibility on the rogue, they gain advantage on their attack rolls, allowing them to consistently deal sneak attack damage while remaining unseen by their enemies. Another powerful combo involves the Hold Person spell and the Divine Smite ability of the Paladin class. When a Paladin successfully casts Hold Person on an enemy, the target becomes paralyzed, causing all melee attacks against them to be critical hits if the attacker is within 5 feet. This effect can be further amplified by the Paladin's Divine Smite ability, which adds radiant damage to their melee attacks. By combining these abilities, the Paladin can deal massive damage to a single target, potentially taking them out of the fight in a single turn. For spellcasters, combining area of effect spells like Fireball or Ice Storm with crowd control spells such as Web or Entangle can create devastating effects on the battlefield. By first immobilizing a group of enemies with a crowd control spell, you can then follow up with a powerful area of effect spell to deal significant damage to multiple targets at once. This combo can be particularly effective against groups of weaker enemies, allowing your party to quickly thin their ranks and focus on more significant threats. In conclusion, understanding how to combine different abilities and spells to create powerful combos and synergies is crucial for success in Baldur's Gate 3. By experimenting with various ability, spell combinations and tailoring them to your party's strengths, you can overcome the challenges that the game presents and emerge victorious in combat. Optimizing your equipment and effectively using consumables can greatly impact your party's performance in combat. By carefully selecting the right gear and consumables, you can enhance your character's abilities, mitigate their weaknesses, and increase their chances of success in battle. Equipment plays a crucial role in defining your character's capabilities. Weapons, armor, and accessories can provide bonuses to attack, defense, and various attributes, allowing your characters to excel in their roles. For example, a fighter might prioritize heavy armor and a powerful melee weapon to maximize their damage output and survivability, while a wizard would focus on items that boost their spellcasting abilities, such as a staff or wand with a high spell attack bonus. Consumables, such as potions, scrolls, and grenades, can provide temporary benefits or deal damage to enemies, making them valuable tools in combat. Health potions are essential for keeping your characters alive, especially during challenging encounters. Restoration potions can remove negative status effects, such as poison or paralysis, allowing your party members to continue fighting effectively. Scrolls can grant access to powerful spells that your characters might not have in their repertoire, providing additional versatility in combat. Grenades, such as Alchemist's Fire or Acid Flasks, can deal area of effect damage and apply status effects to enemies, making them useful for controlling the battlefield and dealing with groups of foes. It's essential to keep a variety of consumables on hand to adapt to different combat situations and enemy types. In conclusion, optimizing equipment and effectively using consumables is vital for success in Baldur's Gate 3. By carefully selecting the right gear and consumables for your characters, you can enhance their abilities, overcome challenges, and emerge victorious in combat. Advanced tactics and strategies are essential for overcoming challenging encounters and boss fights. By adapting and adjusting your strategies based on enemy types and combat scenarios, you can increase your chances of success and emerge victorious in even the most difficult battles. One advanced tactic involves focusing on enemy weaknesses and exploiting them to your advantage. For example, certain enemies may be vulnerable to specific damage types, such as fire or cold. By identifying these vulnerabilities and using spells or abilities that deal the appropriate damage type, you can deal increased damage and quickly eliminate threats. Additionally, some enemies may have low saving throw scores for particular attributes, making them susceptible to crowd control spells or abilities that target those weaknesses. Another advanced strategy is to prioritize high-value targets in combat. In many encounters, certain enemies may pose a more significant threat than others, either due to their damage output, crowd control abilities, or support capabilities. By focusing your party's efforts on these high-value targets, you can neutralize the most dangerous threats and make the overall encounter more manageable. This may involve using abilities like Sneak Attack or Divine Smite to deal massive damage to a single target, or using crowd control spells like Hold Person or Web to incapacitate them. Adapting your tactics based on the combat scenario is also crucial for success. In some cases, it may be more effective to focus on crowd control and area of effect damage to deal with large groups of weaker enemies. In other situations, it may be necessary to prioritize single-target damage and debuffs to take down powerful foes. By analyzing the battlefield and adjusting your strategy accordingly, you can ensure that your party is well equipped to handle any challenge. In conclusion, mastering advanced tactics and strategies is essential for overcoming challenging encounters and boss fights in Baldur's Gate 3. By focusing on enemy weaknesses, prioritizing high-value targets, and adapting your tactics based on the combat scenario, you can increase your chances of success and conquer even the most formidable foes. In conclusion, mastering combat in Baldur's Gate 3 requires a deep understanding of character abilities, effective use of equipment and consumables, and the ability to adapt strategies based on enemy types and combat scenarios. By practicing and experimenting with different tactics, you can overcome even the most challenging encounters and boss fights. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Thozer666's channel for more gaming guides and tips to help you become a better player. Happy adventuring!